Hey everybody, and welcome to Josh and Chuck's Internet Roundup. That is Josh. I'm Chuck. We do the Stuff You Should Know podcast.
Yeah.
And this is our video show formerly titled...
Studio Show Notes.
Studio Show Notes.
Oh, wait. Studio Show Notes.
Second title.
You better believe it.
And now we are on our third title, and I think this one's going to stick.
This one feels right.
That's right.
You know, it's not gimmicky.
No, this isn't gimmicky at all. Just bullwhips and horse whinnies.
Right.
All right, so we're going to take a look at some things that piqued our interest this week on the World Wide Web.
Yeah.
And first up, we have a restaurant in Taiwan that has a dish made up of German sausage and pasta. And so they wanted to give it a German-sounding name.
Yeah, well, they found one.
So they decided to call it Long Live the Nazis.
That's the name of the dish, with German sausage and
actually,
pasta.
Double-check this to make sure it wasn't one of those Onion-esque sites.
Well, this is...
Because there are some other ones now.
This is a Wall Street Journal article, so...
I know.
I mean, they know what they're doing.
It's the real deal. And they were... not only did they name it Long Live the Nazis, they were a little bit surprised that people were offended.
Yeah, so the woman who manages the place, Chow Ya-sin, and the place, by the way, is called the Rock Mill Restaurant. It's in New Taipei City.
Yeah, she looks like
Taiwan.
a nice lady.
She seems pretty earnest, like, what?
Yeah.
She said that they named it that to allow their customers to make the connection between the German sausage and the dish.
Yes.
So they thought, you know, what's German? What's German? Nazis. Well, we want to promote happiness and good feelings, so we'll say long live the Nazis.
Yeah, and I think what I have gathered from reading this is that it is a bit of a cultural thing in Taiwan that they aren't just as well-versed in the atrocities that the Nazis committed.
Yeah.
And so they were just kind of caught off guard. So they renamed it, and I'm not quite sure if it's much better, but they renamed it Long Live Purity.
I think they're trolling here.
You think so?
They're going from long live the Nazis to long live purity.
I know.
I mean, can you imagine stumbling into just from one problem to another like that?
Yeah. Well, they certainly have gotten some press out of it. And this isn't the first time that that country has been embarrassed a little bit about not realizing that talking about Nazis and dressing like Nazis is something you shouldn't do. Because in 2011, the Ministry of National Defense posted a photo of 3 students at their summer camp, the Ministry of Defense's summer camp, wearing Nazi uniforms.
Yeah.
And they put that on their website, and then people said, you should take that down.
And they went,
Really?
What's going on? We're from Taiwan.
Yeah. So I guess the only way to end that story is by saying, so that happened.
That happened.
Yeah.
Oh, man, maybe that's the next title for this video series.
So that happened?
So that happened.
That's pretty good. All right. What do we have next, sir?
Well, apparently in India, up to 50%, yes, more than 50%
Yeah.
of all Indians and about 70% of rural dwelling Indians do what's called open defecation, which is exactly what it sounds like. Mm-hmm. It is where you just
stop and squat
and poop.
Yeah.
Wherever the mood strikes you.
I think it's 3-pronged: stop, squat, poop.
Right.
Because you don't want to be moving.
Yes. Well, this is, kind of a health hazard.
Yeah, sure.
So this group called Squat, SQUAT, did a poll of 3,200 rural Indian households to say, what are you guys doing?
Well, yeah, and we should say they were tempted to ask because in other rural, maybe poor areas of the world, this isn't going on.
Right.
Only 4% of people in Bangladesh openly defecate, 25% of people in sub-Saharan Africa.
1% in China.
Yeah, so it's unique to hear.
At least the frequency of it.
That's right.
So this Squat group, which is in charge of, or which they try to get latrines, cheap latrines built for public safety.
And that's their name,
Public
Squat.
health, right.
Yeah.
So they did this poll, and they wanted to get to the bottom of it. So they first rebuked a few common myths of why people don't use latrines and just defecate out in the open. One of them is access to water.
Yeah.
They said that's not true. They said something like 90% of the people who defecate out in the open in rural India have access to an improved water source.
Yeah, they say poverty is not one of the reasons why.
No, because you can build one of these things like a latrine for like $33 to $50.
Not much.
No.
So they have the money, they have the water. Poor latrine maintenance was another thing they debunked because apparently they work pretty well.
Yeah, they said 40% of households that have a functioning latrine still have at least one member who defecates out in the open.
That'd be me.
So they said, okay, well then tell us, why are you doing this? And this quote, I love this, the second to last sentence here, Chuck. It says, quote, villagers perceive the benefits of open defecation. It is associated with good health and a wholesome rural life.
Yeah.
In other words, they poop out in the open because they like pooping out in the open.
Have you ever done it?
Poop not on purpose.
Okay.
Have you? You
Sure.
camp a lot, don't you?
Yeah, camping. I don't just
Gotcha.
make a practice of it, but you do it when you go camping, and it is everyone knows that the squat is the natural way to go.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's the most appropriate for your body,
Sure.
and I think it makes a straight line.
I think you should demonstrate on the table.
Where a toilet, no, I'm not going to do that. Where a toilet isn't very ergonomic. Toilets are not ergonomic, but squatting is extremely ergonomic. And if you've ever done it, I can testify that everything just comes right on out like super easy.
Huh.
That's as detailed as I'm going to get.
So, yeah, dude, that's kind of a huge challenge, if you think about it.
Sure.
Like if it were those three things, poverty, access to water, or, maintaining it, you can overcome those.
Yeah.
If people just like to poop out in the open.
What are you going to do? Try and educate them, I guess, to the unsanitary aspects. But, yeah, so there you have it, open defecation.
Open defecation and Taiwanese restaurants, long live the Nazis. That's this episode.
That's right.
We have a podcast called Stuff You Should Know. You can find it on iTunes, all sorts of other places. You can find it on our website, stuffyoushouldknow.com. We also hang out on social media quite a bit.
Yep.
And you can send us an email to stuffpodcast@howstuffworks.com if you ever want to say hello.
That's right. And we'll see you next week on the Internet Roundup.